Hi and welcome to the WP Quickies series, bite-sized WordPress tips and tricks in 30 minutes or less. Today I'm going to be looking at customizing your WordPress login URL. So thanks for your time to joining me this Sydney afternoon, a bit gloomy Sydney afternoon. Hopefully it'll get a little bit brighter. And welcome to those overseas as well and to those watching on replay. So while you're here, if you're on YouTube, you can click on the subscribe button and ding the bell for my latest video updates, or you can give me a big thumbs up if you're watching on Facebook today. Drop a note in the comments, let me know who you are and where you're coming from. Hey Nick, good to see you Nick, thanks for joining in. Mr. Meowpoos, I've got Morris online as well, and Alan is joining us as well. Thank you so much guys for joining me. Spending your lunchtime or wherever you are. I mean, it is fantastic to have you guys. If you are going to ask a question, make that one a bit bigger, drop a question throughout the talk in the comments. Use hashtag ask at the beginning, just so I can scroll through and see what they are. This is a fairly simple topic today. It's a bit of a beginner's topic, so that should be all good. If you do have questions, drop them in the comments. Dave, good to see you as well. And thanks to Norman for joining us. So thank you guys. I'm going to jump straight into it today. It's not a big quickie today, it's just a short one. But it kind of follows on from one of the quickies I did last month, or maybe a couple of months ago on the WordPress login URL. And that was being able to find it, so for beginner people. Okay, let's move on. If you need help locating your WordPress login URL, as I said, I did do a quickies maybe a couple of months ago now, so you can watch that. The link is up there and I'll post it in the comments below. But just as a little recap, as a little summary, if you're struggling to find your WordPress login URL, the default ones are, so if you put your website address in, /admin/login /wp-admin and /wp-login.php. And the last one there is the actual PHP file that loads in the WordPress login procedure. So if you want some more details on that, go and watch the quickie on that, and it covers it more in detail. But let's move on today. So today we're talking about changing the WordPress login URL. And so leaving your WordPress website with the default login URL, it leaves your site kind of wide open to bot attacks. The bot attacks, they're set up to probe every website. You just find websites the similar way that Google and Bing does. And they basically try and ping the default login URL. So for WordPress, that'd be -login and -wp-admin, admin, and wp-login.php. So they basically just trial these websites and try and find, the login page for those. If they get a valid response, then that's it. The gloves are off and they start their brute force attack methods on WordPress websites because they know it's a WordPress website. If the bots don't get a valid response, then they're likely to move on to the next target website. And this is what we're trying to do. This is what we want to do today. So we're going to be changing the default WordPress login URLs so that when a bot comes along and it tries those default WordPress ones, it doesn't get a valid response and it moves on. Now, bot attacks, as well as trying to guess your username and password, get into your website, and use it for malware, the actual attack itself also slows down the web server as well. With all these requests that keep coming in, the web server struggles. And as a result, your website is slow in performance. And of course, if that happens a lot, then Google can see that as damaging and lower your rankings in the search results pages. So all out, changing your WordPress login URL, I think is a pretty good thing to do. So let's have a quick look. Oh, another valid reason for changing the default WordPress login URL is to prevent the server from being overrun with too many requests. So similar to this kind of bot attack, when a web server gets really inundated and it just can't deal with those requests, it sends out this 429 too many requests error message, and that basically stops all your website traffic. So it doesn't just slow down your website, it actually stops the web server. It kind of has a timeout to try and slow down, and as a result, your real visitors who need to get access to your website or your logins, your members trying to log in your website, they just can't log into the site at all. So yeah, really bad. Bot attacks are bad. let's see what we can do to try and fix that. So the easiest way of doing that, the easiest way to change your login URL is to use, of course, a plugin. And there's lots and lots of plugins out there. There's quite a lot of the security plugins. I think iThemes Security, I think they have this as a piece of their overall security plugin to change the login URL. But this is a little plugin here that I found. I've played around with it over the past few weeks, and it's called WPS Hide Login. And it's very good. It just does one thing. And if you're a regular WP Quickie viewer, you'll know that I like plugins that do one thing and one thing very, very well. And this is all it does. It just allows you to change the WordPress login URL. So let's have a quick look at the settings. So once you install this plugin, you navigate to, there is a setting on the dashboard, and so you go down to the settings and WPS Hide Login, but it actually adds this setting onto the very bottom of your general settings page anyway. So that's basically where it links to. So this plugin, it intercepts requests to the default login resources. That's those end of URL links that we looked at the very beginning. And it allows you to redirect to a specific page or a general 404 not found page. Now on the screen there, the settings are very, very simple. So for your login URL, you can change that to whatever it is you like. So I've got an example here called log me in. And the redirection URL is what WordPress is going to redirect to if somebody tries the /login, the /wp admin, the /wp login.php, and that's going to redirect you. You don't have to redirect to the 404 page. You can redirect to the home page or an information page. Totally up to you. Now, once you put in your custom login URL, remember to jot it down. Jot down the new URL. Otherwise, you're going to have a really, really tough time trying to log back into WordPress if you forget that unique login URL that you've put in there. If that happens, don't panic. What you can do is you can log into your hosting account and use your file manager tool in cPanel or Plesk or whatever management tool your host uses to manage your website. Go into the file manager section and then navigate to WP content /plugins, and then delete that folder WPS-hide-login. And what that's going to do, it'll delete all the plugin files, and then you press refresh and you'll be able to log back into your WordPress using the default login URLs. So that's a little trick that I use for quite a lot of plugins. Sometimes I use WordPress for a lot of my clients and my own websites, and sometimes it doesn't like my IP address and I get completely blocked. So I can't log in to fix it. So what I do is I go into the back end, excuse me, go into cPanel, go into File Manager. I don't delete it. I just move it from the plugins folder up to WP content, log back in normally, and then go and move it back into the plugin. So a little trick there with managing plugins in the back end. Now, this plugin here, the WPS Hide Login Settings plugin, I've tested it for quite a few weeks, and I've been running Gravity Forms, WooCommerce, Easy Digital Downloads, all the really, really big plugins. I've been testing those with it, and it seems to work absolutely fine. It doesn't interact, doesn't stop any of the URLs. All the admin Ajax URLs seem to work fine, so it doesn't block the WP-admin folder at all. And yeah, it just works really, really seamlessly. And I really love this. I love plugins that just do one thing and do that one thing really, really well. So that is the really, really easy way to do it. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a demo. And for that, I have a video. So I'm not going to log into the website, but I did a video capture earlier on this morning. Let me just add this to the stream. And I'll pause that and rewind it. Okay, so what this is going to do is I've installed the plugin on this little demo website. I've activated it and I've put in a URL for the login. It's called Log Me In. And what you'll see in this video is I'm just going to test the existing or the default WordPress login URL. So you'll see it at the top when I type it in. Right, here we go. So the first one is WP-admin, and it redirects to the 404 page. And then I do, which one? Admin/admin. I can see again that goes to the 404 page. I'm going to type in login this time, and it goes to the 404 page. And I'm going to type in the actual script, so wp-login.php, and it goes 404. And then finally, the custom URL that I entered using the plugin, which is log me in, and goes straight to the login page. So very, very simple little plugin. I think it's fantastic. Just does that one thing and does that one thing really, really well. Now, if you want to do it manually, I'm not going to copy all the code because there's a lot of lines. But if you don't want to trust a plugin to do it, if you're one of these people who likes to tinker around in server configurations, you can do it yourself. And I've got a couple of links here. They might not work when I copy them into YouTube or Facebook. Facebook doesn't really like a lot of these URLs with long stuff in it, but I'll give it a go. So the first one there, it's a link to a page that's got some code in it for Apache users. So if you're using Apache, you can go into your h.htaccess file. So that's a file that Apache uses to redirect all the URLs within the WordPress website. And there's about 30 lines that you add at the top, and that allows you to redirect away from those default WordPress logins. Now, if you're using Nginx, Nginx is a different beast. It's a different type of web server. It doesn't use .htaccess. So I've copied in a link to a stackoverflow.com page. Fantastic site to get tips on WordPress and everything else. But there's specific code in there. So there's PHP code that handles redirection, and there's some Nginx server blocks that deals with the rewrites for the URL to get rid of those default login URL. So there's a couple of tips there. So the first tip is for a plugin, really easy way, and I'd kind of recommend doing that. Or the second way is manual, if you really want to tinker around with the files of your web servers. So that's it, guys. A real quickie one today. Just kind of following up from the other login URL quickie that I did a few weeks ago. Some people did ask me if I could do one on actually changing the URL itself. So hopefully that. A couple of questions. Nick asks, what is your preference, plugin or manual coding? For a long time, I had .htaccess because I used to run Apache web servers. So like many moons ago, I would tinker around myself with the .htaccess purely because I could, and that's the sort of person that I am. But now, I just go with the plugin. Just now, it's really simple. It just does one thing really well. It's lightweight as well. It just works in the back end, so it's not going to affect your front end website. It doesn't load any libraries, and it's well maintained as well. So good question, Nick. I would definitely just go with the plugin at the moment. I think playing around the .htaccess, especially if you've got another firewall plugin installed, because they usually add quite a bit to the htaccess. And depending on where you put the code in there, it can kind of stuff things up. So I tend to shy away now from htaccess, playing around with that. Morris asks, is there a performance benefit from doing the code method? I don't think so. No, I don't think so at all. There'd be a slight, tiny little bit of difference, but I think it'd be negligible for that, because with all plugins, when WordPress loads them in, it initializes all the plugins on every page refresh, and what this plugin does is it actually adds some hooks and filters to capture what WordPress is trying to put out to the browser, and then it filters it from there and redirects where it's going. So tiny little bit of performance that you'll get if you use the actual code method, but I think that's going to be negligible, Morris. Nick asks, did you say WordFence can also change the login URL? I don't think so. I think it's iThemes Security. I think it used to be called Better WP Security, and then iThemes bought over that. So I'm fairly sure that WordFence does not have a login URL changer, but that iThemes Security does. I could be wrong. I've not been in WordFence settings for quite a while, but since the last I've looked at it, it didn't have a login URL changer for that. Great questions, guys. Okay, I'm going to have a quick look at the iPad. No more questions. I didn't expect very many questions from this one because it's a really simple topic today. Okay, if there's no more questions, then next week I am going to be going through WordPress. So I guess we'll see. We'll see if it's got a login URL changer next week. So I'm going to be going through WordPress, how to set it up on a brand new website. So which settings to update, which ones to click, and just to make sure that we go through all the different types of settings and make sure that that's all set up correctly. So there have been a few changes to WordPress since I last did this type of setup. So it'll be quite interesting going through all the settings. So join me next week if you're a WordPress user and you install that in lots of clients, or you've never seen WordPress before. It'd be a good little bit of an introduction as to what it can actually do. As always, I'm looking for topics. Send me some topics using the link down below in the comments. So it's the rebrand link, and it goes through to a Google form, and just let me know some topics that I can queue up over the next few weeks. And just a little bit of shout out as well for WPAustralia.org. And so if you're looking for meetups, whether they're online or physical, there's a find a meetup group button there, and you can also join us on Slack, and it tells you how to sign up for our WPAustralia.Slack group, where I really encourage you to sign up and join us there. We all kind of hang out, people ask questions, and just kind of, chat about some interesting things. It's a good way to get to know the community, get to know people in the WordPress community, especially as the physical meetups aren't really happening yet. So fingers crossed they will restart soon. A little bit of shout out for my website owner survival guide. You can check that later on if you sell WordPress client maintenance plans for websites. That's going to help you to do that and get some more money in. And that's me. I'm happy to connect with you. I'm mostly on LinkedIn these days under Developer Will. I post a fair bit on Instagram at the moment, and I usually rant a bit on Twitter often. Maybe not so often nowadays, but happy to connect with you. And if that's all, then thank you very much for your time, and I shall see you guys next week. Ciao.